Hey everyone, welcome into CUTV Sports One. It's been a while since I've been on the set. I'm glad to be back. Welcome into an edition of Forechecking here on CUTV Sports One. If you guys know me, I'm Trevin TK Catellis. Alongside me, joining me as always, Mr. Nolan Biceline is here with me today. Nolan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, back from the home residence, but missing hockey a little bit, but still being able to do some more work and stay connected with everybody back at CUTV.
It's kind of cool that we can actually able to do this virtually. We're able to host a show and kind of keeps us busy because I know with schoolwork, other than schoolwork, we pretty much don't have anything else to do.
And not much else to do. I know this morning I had plenty of Zoom calls, so it's keeping me on my toes, but, missing hockey a little bit as, that's our main topic here.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into it a little bit. It's just the season stopped. We're not sure really when we're going to pick up. I mean, the rumor is kind of it might pick up in July, but I mean, let's start with that. I mean, what's your opinion? When do you think the NHL will come back this season, if at all? And just kind of give me your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see, you see all these different sports when stuff's going to happen. You just saw football hoping to start in September like they should. But I would hope to see it come back. Probably I would have to say August, honestly, my opinion. But who knows? I mean, if they don't seem to come back, I would just say you don't rule a winner this year because, in my opinion, it'd be way too close to see who would win the cup this year.
So, I mean, if the season does come back, do you think that they would start off and just kind of jump right into the playoffs? Or are we thinking they were going to finish out that last 2-3 weeks of the season? Or what's your thoughts?
Though I would have to say, maybe not finish the whole season, but at least I would probably say 3 to 4 games I would give them just because, coming off a 2 to 3 month break, it's definitely difficult to come right back into things, especially going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of where everybody stands right now, it's still up for grabs. There was a lot of teams that were so close, even in the wild card spots or even in the divisions or conferences where they could easily bump up a spot or drop down. Kind of it really wouldn't make a difference, if they came back into the regular season, really, unless they played those games, because that would kind of be your deciding factor where those teams fall, too.
Right, yeah, I was looking this morning at the standings, and I don't think I realized how close some of the standings were for some of these teams. You give them 3 to 4 games, they may still have a chance to get in the playoffs over there in the West. I saw the Wild. I mean, 1 point out. I mean, one win, they're in. So it'd be interesting to see what they would decide to do if the NHL season comes back.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I believe we have a couple of graphics to take a look at too with our East and West standings. So if we pop those in there, we can take a look at those coming up, and whatever one's up there, we can take a look at. But we'll look at East first. And if you look at those, we had of course, the Metro Division. You had your Atlantic and your wild cards. I was looking pretty solid there, and of course, Nolan, your Washington Capitals up there at the top in the Metro, and then Boston rounding out the top of the Atlantic. You got Carolina and Columbus in those wild cards. How you feel about those standings, Nolan?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If it was me, I do not want to see the regular season come back because I don't know if I trust the Caps making it as the number 1 seed again. But it's exciting time of year. I mean, the Penguins are doing just as well right now, especially with Gensel. Right now, kind of helping him get healthier to come back. Possibly the Flyers making an unexpected push. It's really interesting to see. And then over there in the Atlantic, I mean, Boston and Tampa just kind of running away with it.
Yeah, I mean, the way it would stand right now, if the playoffs would fall into place, I believe Pittsburgh would end up taking on Philadelphia. That'd be one big matchup that everybody would be looking forward to. Tampa would take on Toronto, and then you'd have your wild cards, Boston and Columbus and Washington and Carolina, or vice versa there with the wild cards. So I'll be looking for pretty good matchups there in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, definitely would be good matchups. I mean, Caps Hurricanes always good one from last year. Went the whole way till the end. So, it'd be interesting to see what they decide to do and just how it will work out, especially if they come back, as you said earlier, for those 3 games or 3 to 4, whatever they decide.
Let's flip it over to the west side. Let's take a look at those standings coming up, and this one's interesting too. Those the wild cards in that one really intrigued me because I expected Winnipeg to be there, but we've seen all season long that Vancouver was up there in the top in those standings for a while, and now they're out of it with Nashville taking over that second wild card spot. I mean, what do you feel about their run coming up here?
Yeah, I mean, it's the West is just kind of crazy right there with that whole wild card spot. I mean, it's a bunch of don't want to call them mediocre teams, but just teams that you want to expect to be there that are kind of there right now. And it's, you give them more games, they may have a chance to especially battle out if, you get more of those divisional matchups here at the end of the season. But my opinion, I mean, the Predators, I think they could, you always see them in the playoffs, so why wouldn't they be in the playoffs this year?
Yeah, I mean it's been a wild run, especially in the division between Vegas, Edmonton, and Calgary. Those three have been battling the entire season. We've seen them jump back and forth, and as Gary says, you can't spell Calgary without Gary. He's in it. He's in it for the win for Calgary. There, he's picked them so far, and I pick them a lot this season. But they're looking to make a run back as well against some of those strong Central Division teams. Of course, St. Louis is still in there, the reigning champion from last year. Do you think they could make another run?
Yeah, I mean, St. Louis is really one of those teams that just kind of have an overall all-round presence. I mean, you say offense, they have Ryan O'Reilly, Tyler Rozak, I mean, just Tarasenko, whoever you want to say, defense, Pachamlo, Binnington back there in the back. So really solid team. I think they can make a good run.
Yeah, I think every season so far since the Vegas Golden Knights too have been a part of the NHL, they've made it to the playoffs every season so far too. So they're also looking strong. They're also trying to strive for that first cup as well in the newest team. So do you think they have a shot to win the cup?
Yeah, Vegas. I mean, it'd be crazy to see them go the whole way. I mean, we saw them against the Caps, and you just the excitement through that T-Mobile Arena. But they just seem to bring in all these good guys, and I don't know how they have the salary cap to do it, but they do, and it's just I would love to see them win a cup.
Of course, and you and I are kind of going to break down our opinions of everything, the way we think this whole thing's going to play out. But we reached out to a couple of our panelists as well, our main guys from the show. Johnny and Peyton have been on, and we also reached out to our hockey guru, who is at CUTV, Mr. Doug Glackey. They all sent in a video for us, so we're going to give you guys a look at what they thought how the season would play out right now, and then when we come back, we'll tell you guys how me and Nolan feel.
So these are all in my opinion. So I believe in the East, the winner is going to be the Boston Bruins. I think as of this recording, Boston has 100 points and is leading the East currently in the regular season. And for the West, it's going to be St. Louis. I believe St. Louis has 94 points. I'm not completely sure. Don't quote me on that. And I think they're going to win the Western Conference in the regular season. Stanley Cup final rematch. Well, like I said, Stanley Cup final rematch. It's going to be St. Louis and Boston. I worked it out. I hated to put Boston in the finals, but it's how it works. And I think it's going to be another St. Louis-Boston rematch. I think it's going to be the same result, too. I think St. Louis is also going to win the cup again. They got that speed, talent, and I think they got a lot more people to put the puck in the back of the net. The Hart Memorial Trophy or the league MVP, I think it's going to be Connor McDavid. You can argue Leon Draisaitl, David Pastrnak, but I do think it's going to be Connor McDavid. The Calder Memorial Trophy or Rookie of the Year, it's going to be none other than Cale Makar. He did a lot is actually an understatement for the Avalanche. He's almost acting like a star player, and that's insane for a rookie. The team I think that did better is going to be the Flyers. Definitely exceeded my expectations. I'm a Pittsburgh fan, so I hate to admit that, but you got to give credit where credit's due. At the end there, they actually stole Pittsburgh's spot. They got the second seed in the Metro, and Pittsburgh now has the third seed. So I do think they did really good, and they got something good going over there. Until next time, this has been Peyton Challenger for Forechecking, signing out.
First off, in the Eastern Conference, my Eastern Conference winner is obvious. I'm going with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They looked so good going into the stoppage, and they were going to get even better as they were going to get Jake Gensel back to play alongside Sidney Crosby. And I really think that they could have really made that deep run and got Sid and Gino another cup. And for my Western Conference winner, I'm going with the Colorado Avalanche because they've been absolutely unreal. You have that top line of Rantanen, McKinnon, and Landeskog alongside a host of other great players for the Avs. Would have been one hell of a cup matchup, as McKinnon and Crosby are both from Cole Harbour, Nova Scotia. and I think it would have been great for the game. Would have the Penguins winning that series in 6 games. And as for the MVP trophy, I think it's pretty obvious. Leon Draisaitl had 110 points this season, easily could have gotten over 130 had he been able to play the rest of the season out and stay at the current pace he was on. And for Rookie of the Year, I'm going with Quinn Hughes of the Vancouver Canucks. He had 53 points this season. That's pretty unreal for a defenseman, let alone a rookie defenseman. And for a team that I'm disappointed wasn't able to play out a full year, I'm going with the Philadelphia Flyers. They played great this season, and they finally started getting a lot out of Kevin Hayes. Would have got Nolan Patrick back and easily could have made a lot of noise in the playoffs had they been able to keep going. All right, guys, that's enough from me, but just wanted to thank everybody for watching this, and stay safe, everyone.
Hey guys, it's Johnny. Back at my place. I know we didn't get to finish the season and like we had planned, but oh well, all things happen. But here's my predictions of what I think would have happened with the way the season would have ended with the current standings. I think the Penguins would have beaten the Flyers in the opening round matchup, 4 games to 2. But I think out of the conference finals, Pittsburgh was getting hot at the right time. They were still going to be my conference champions. So winning in the Eastern Conference Finals would be the Pittsburgh Penguins over the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now on to the West side, I think my Dallas Stars were going to make a run, but I don't think they're going to get to the conference finals. I do, however, think that we were going to see Vancouver versus Colorado for the conference championship up out in the West. But give me the Avalanche in that finals matchup. And I'm going to take Pittsburgh versus Colorado in the Stanley Cup Finals. But I think Pittsburgh would come out on top in 7 games. For my MVP, there was a lot of good talents this year. But I got to go with Washington's defenseman, Erik Karlsson. I think he is definitely one of the top players in the league this year. As we haven't seen a defenseman score this many points in a long time. And I honestly think he deserves that MVP award this year. Now, for my Rookie of the Year, TK, you're going to appreciate this one. I'm going with Cale Makar. Now, I hope we get to see the rest of the season played out, but I don't know if we're going to or not due to current circumstances. But I hope everyone's doing well. Stay safe, be smart, and hopefully we can get through all this together. And we can get back to doing what we love, of talking sports, watching sports, playing hockey, down at the court, get back to being on campus. But until then, this is Johnny, signing off.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Forechecking here. Thank you to our panelists there, Peyton, Doug, and Johnny. TK and Nolan here, but also big shout out to Doug, who filmed in vertical and not horizontal. I wanted to give him a shout out there, but thanks to everybody for sending them in, and thank you for your opinions on how the playoffs would play out and your opinions on that. So, Nolan, you and I are the experts here as well, kind of based on off of what they said. Let's break it down here. Let's go through it all, and let's see how it plays out. Let's start basically in the East, the matchups, the way it would be. If you had to pick right now, let's break it down, starting with that first round, Washington versus Carolina. You might have a biased opinion, but who you picking?
It's tough to figure out who I'd pick there, but especially with my background back there, but I think I'm going with the Caps on that one. No doubt about it. I think just the way that they're rolling, going in, I can see Gary shaking his head in the background. I think solid pick there.
I'd probably have to agree with you on that one. A little revenge taken over last year to beat Carolina this time. The other wild card matchup would be the 1 versus wild card, Boston and Columbus. Your take on that one?
I said it during the show, and I'll say it again during the show, just virtually. I said Boston just has that top line at Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak that just can't be stopped. So Boston, 5 games.
5 games. All right, bold prediction there. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia keeping it in the East there with one more.
Yeah, I would probably upset a lot of people if I said the wrong answer here. But, I think this series could go all the way till Game 7. And just the way that the Flyers been rolling, I know I'm going to break some hearts, but I'm taking the Flyers to make it to round 2.
Yeah, you know what, the Flyers have looked exceptionally well this season. I'm very, very surprised in it, and we'll actually get to that topic here in just a second. But one more in the East, Tampa Bay and Toronto. Your take on that one?
Yeah, Tampa Bay and Toronto, just two of those teams that just go back and forth. And, Tampa Bay's got that solid team, seems to always make it towards the end, but Toronto just can't seem to get out of that slump. But they just have all the pieces, so I'm going to take them this year, honestly.
All right, and then in the
Get them
West,
out of the slump.
yeah, and in the West, St. Louis and Winnipeg.
St. Louis had Bennington, Pietrangelo, Tarasenko, all those players, Sanford, just kind of all around them. The Jets, they just kind of have some key players. I mean, you hear them step up once in a while, but I just say the Blues continue their hot streak in the playoffs.
And then another one and wild card would be Vegas and Nashville. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's totally a good one, back and forth. I mean, two loud arenas with passionate fans. I'd have to take Vegas on that one just because Nashville, has the keys and parts, but there's some games where they lose that they shouldn't be losing, in my opinion. So I'm taking Vegas there.
And the other one would be a big time matchup. It'd be kind of myself versus Johnny in this one. It's my Colorado Avalanche repping the hometown versus the Dallas Stars. I mean, I'm picking Colorado, but Nolan, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I think I'm taking Colorado too. Just kind of 4 solid lines and 3 solid deep pairing. I mean, maybe the goaltending would be the only thing that you may worry about there, but just Dallas kind of has some older players, I feel like, now that used to be key parts, but just not this year.
And then the last one of the first round would be the Battle of Alberta, Edmonton and Calgary. And that one is a well-awaited playoff matchup for that battle. And who would you take?
Yeah, definitely would be crazy, that battle. I mean, all around. I mean, the brawls that they've had this season, the back and forth games, the goal scoring. But my opinion, I think McDavid steps up there and carries the Oilers into the second.
All right. Then to look at it here, we're not going to go through the rest of the bracket, but if you have to pick a winner for the Western Conference, to win the whole entire side of the Western Conference and go to the Stanley Cup matchup, what team would you pick coming out of the West?
Yeah, I know it may sound a little biased, especially for you, but I think I'm really taking Colorado. I mean, just been strong all year, and I just don't know if anybody's going to be stopping them.
Oh, I mean, I'd love to see it, man. I would love to see it. I mean, as much as I want to say that I would love the Colorado to be there, I mean, I really think they can get there if they play their cards right and they definitely step up on all lines, especially goaltending as well. I mean, Kel McCarr has been sensational on the defensive side as well, but I also think that Edmonton or Vegas could easily make that run to the Stanley Cup final. So got to watch out for those as well. And then let's jump back to the East real quick. Who would you pick out of the East to make it to the Stanley Cup final?
Yeah, I mean, I know I want to take my Caps there, TK, but I just don't know if they have it this year. So I'm going with Boston this year. Get
Take
back to the Cup. It's been a couple of years. They used to be there with the Chicago's and Vancouver stuff, but I think they finally get back to it with that team that they just have kind of all around.
Yeah, I know a lot of the panel, especially I know for sure Doug and Johnny taking one Pittsburgh to be there, and with the return of Jake Gensel and getting Zucker in there, they might have a shot as well. If you're a hometown Penguin fan, you could have a shot to get there. But all in all, if you had to predict right now, if the season would come down to it, who would be your Stanley Cup champion, Nolan?
Yeah, if I had to say, I'd say 7 games, the home games in Boston. I'm going Colorado.
Well, Colorado for the Stanley Cup champion. I would love to see that, Nolan. You just made my day. Let me tell you. I would have to say, I'd love to see Colorado do it. I really would possibly see Boston winning the Cup this year as a little revenge from losing to St. Louis last year. But again, I'd love to see Colorado there. That's something I really like to see, and I appreciate the compliment there, Nolan.
Yeah.
But also jumping over to a couple other things that our panel talked about as well. 3 more kind of topics to touch on will be your candidate for MVP. Your league MVP this year. If you had to pick one player that stood out to you for that award, who'd you pick?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of good players in the league this year, but really just been a standout. I think Doug mentioned it. If they would have kept on playing, he probably would have got to 130 points, if not more. Leon Draisaitl, my pick this year for MVP.
Leon Draisaitl played amazing alongside Connor McDavid. He's just been an outstanding force up there for Edmonton. If I had to pick an MVP, I'd probably be going back to the East Conference and picking David Pastrnak. He's been exceptionally well for Boston this season. I mean, he's always been good, but this season he's just been out of this world playing for the Bruins, and I would definitely pick him for the MVP. An interesting pick that Johnny had with Erik Karlsson as the defender. Keeping up there with the offense, but I mean, and the forwards. I mean, I definitely agree with that. He's just been hurt. I'm not sure if he would make the run if the season will continue being hurt. But you never know. You know, he did post a very good performance so far throughout the season, so he did have a shot. I mean, it's a decent pick.
Yeah, it's a decent pick there for sure. Whenever I watched his video, I figured he meant Erik Karlsson, but at first he said Washington. I think you heard him at first in that first video, so I'm like, I think he means the San Jose Karlsson. But yeah, quite a heck of a player. Just injury has really gotten to him lately. That's kept him out of the lineup out there.
And jumping from MVP to the would want to be the newest players in the league, your Rookie of the Year candidate. Who would you pick for that?
You know, if the Colorado won the cup, I would probably have to say Cale Makar. But if they don't win the cup, I would have to go Quinn Hughes out of Vancouver.
Like, I think we're pretty much all kind of on the same pages with that. Either Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes. We're kind of pretty much most of us have said Cale Makar. You know, Doug said Quinn Hughes. You mentioned Quinn Hughes. One of the those are your top two players so far this season, and rookies. They've just been absolutely outstanding. And then one I want to touch on as well, which I know I had them talk about too, is if you had to pick one team this season, Nolan, that kind of stood out in your mind that you were thinking, wow, you know, they did so much better than I originally expected them to do. What team would that have been?
Yeah, no, I mean, this idea has really been floating around, and I think you may have the same team. If not, you would probably agree on mine. I'd say the Flyers. I mean, started out the season just down there pretty low, and then mid-season, Lane Vigneault just kind of got that team together, and they've been rolling ever since. I think if the season would have just happened normally, they probably almost could have got to the one spot, in my opinion. At least in the Metro, not the Eastern Conference.
I was going to say they pass up your Capitals in the Metro. That's a bold statement for a Capitals fan.
Definitely the bold statement, but it'd be cool to see the Cats take on the Penguins round one instead of round two.
That is, that'd be something interesting to see, and I definitely agree with you that the Flyers would be that team that impressed me the most. They were phenomenal this season. I didn't expect them to do what they could do with the players that they had. You know, the goaltending is great. I didn't expect them to be phenomenal like it is, but they've definitely impressed me. Ivan Provorov was on my fantasy hockey team. I definitely loved having him. He was an outstanding defenseman as well for that team, and even the forward stepped up. So all around, definitely showed what they were really made of. And I mean, I like orange as a color, so I mean, I definitely root for them once in a while, just not when they're playing the Pens because I don't want to seem like the bad guy. But I mean, I do show some love for the Flyers because they are a PA team too. So I definitely like.
Yeah, I think you're just picking them just because that little gritty that we had on our little stand-up. I don't know what happened to him. He's somewhere in there.
He is at home here at my house right now. I should have brought him down on the table. That's when I came down to Cal when they closed the campus. I came down and Johnny went in and got it for me after my New York trip. He got all my stuff out of there, so I have it here at home. I'm playing some hockey. I don't know if you've been playing hockey at all. No one keeping yourself busy. I've been trying.
Yeah, definitely need to keep yourself busy. Need to, sometimes take breaks from school, go out and golf a little what I can. So many of you know I'm a golfer as well. So
yeah, speaking of golf, you have your pro tips up on CUTV, so be sure to check them out. And golfing tips with Nolan, be sure to check those out. And to our panelist Johnny, he's got the Country Kitchen, so check that out too. But in the meantime, guys, thank you for tuning in to Forechecking here, a little different setting with virtually. But Nolan, thanks for joining me. Appreciate it, and thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, it was fun to be on once again. Talk some hockey, whatever we can talk about. But now it's just a waiting game to see what happens the rest of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thank you to our panel. Thank you to Gary Smith for putting us through here. And hopefully the NHL can come back. But if not, we look forward to next season. And until then, if we don't see you in the meantime, we'll see you in the fall. Thanks for tuning in to CUTV Sports 1 and Forechecking. See you next time.